Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Mic Wrestling Show here on YouTube. Your SmackDown recap. Pretty by-the-numbers show tonight. I mean, as you expect, you're 8 days ahead of a premium live event in Berlin, kind of building the pieces to this show. A really lively crowd, and I'm never disappointed by a crowd. My former hometown of Washington, D.C., I spent 10 and a half months there, so really... subtle play. Interestingly enough, Cody Rhodes kicks off this show. For those of you who don't know, it's almost been 5 years to the day where AEW debuted in this very building on television, Dynamite. So, and Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara was the first match on that show. So, show starts, Grayson Waller effect. It's Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in the ring. I need to say this right off the bat, and I've said this on my Twitter. God bless Alicia Taylor. She is probably a delightful human being. I've heard exemplary things about her as a person. As a ring announcer, bluntly, she sucks. She sucks. I'm sorry. It's gotten to the point where I almost want to mute during the introductions, and that's a detriment to your product. So if WWE is watching, and I know Triple H pays attention to social media, I'm really hoping that a lot of people kind of rally behind this and basically say, hey, Alicia Taylor, you're fine in NXT. It's fine. Give Samantha Irvin more work. Because Samantha, in my opinion, if given more time, could go on to being more of like a Lillian Garcia or in the classification of a Howard Finkel in being one of the great ring announcers of all time. And I just don't understand like why Alicia is continuously put in these spots, because it's just like it's getting to the point where it's nails on a chalkboard. And it's like I said, she's probably a delightful person, but right off the bat, especially with the long intro that Grayson Waller gets, right off the bat, my sister looked at me and it was like, oh my God, Mike, can we mute this? So it's just like I said, I'm not to get off on the wrong foot here, but just Alicia Taylor, you're great. Admittedly, a lot of people love you, but it's just like, I think you should be put in a different role. It's ring announcing's not for everybody. So, so basically, this sets the stage. Cody Rhodes is the interviewer to start the show. Plays to the crowd. Waller actually stops Cody from the second woe. We get the one woe. Cody gets on the ropes, and Waller refers to it as a cringe woe. He told him to get in the ring for the interview. Cody grabs the mic. He tries to do, so what do you want to talk about? He gets interrupted again. Waller calls Cody selfish and that the crowd only cheers for him because they don't know the real him. And this begins sowing the seeds of doubt in this feud with Kevin Owens. He brings up Orton and Owens getting beaten up on Cody's behalf and asked him what kind of friend actually does that, what kind of friend he actually was. Cody describes Kevin as having beaten a who's who of opponents and called him one of the strongest opponents of the Bloodline even before he got back to WWE, which is actually very true. Kevin's been fighting the Bloodline longer than maybe anybody in WWE, which it's wild how long this Bloodline angle has been going on for, but Kevin has been there from the beginning, and that's very, very true. So, then Cody spins it around, draws attention to the friendship between Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and basically points out that Waller's taking advantage of Theory, and they're just waiting for Austin to do something about it. Waller said he wasn't going to make this about them. He then brings in video footage, and this was great. This was really great. One of my favorite things about this show is they bring up all of these exhibits of times that Kevin Owens has turned on people. Sami Zayn twice. And the best part of this whole thing, Chris Jericho was in this video package. His name appeared on the screen. And honestly, the Chris Jericho turn, the Festival of Friendship, is maybe the best Kevin Owens turn, one of the best, backstabbing friendship heel turns in the history of WWE. And, just to take a barb at my AEW peeps that are waiting to pounce on me in the chat or whatever on the comments on this video, there was more ratings for this segment than any segment that Chris Jericho has done this year in AEW. Guaranteed. But this was awesome. I really loved that they showcased that. To showcase Kofi Kingston was involved. Like I said, Sami Zayn twice in this video. And so basically, he points out Kevin Owens is always violent and unpredictable. Like John Cena was in this video as well. So then Kevin comes out and said he can't. He said he couldn't stand back there while they try to make a point about how he's going to stab Cody in the back like he has in his entire career. Kevin then said everyone in this video, aside from Kofi Kingston, had it coming. I found it interesting that he said, yeah, you know what, Sammy, even though Sammy's my best friend, he didn't say anything about that. But you know what, in a lot of respect, the second time, which they pointed to when Kevin was a babyface leading into WrestleMania 37, Sammy probably did deserve that. So there's that. So Owens then said Cody and he have never had beef. It's not going to happen. He basically says, yeah, we know how this is going to go. Let's just get Nick all this out here. Let's skip the brawl and everything and make the tag team match for later tonight. Nick comes out, obliges, and then KO sheepishly asks, yeah, can I just punch Grayson anyways? Alda says, yeah, just make it quick. And Kevin, like this whole, like, you know, it's almost kind of like somebody pointed out, it's almost like Deadpool and like this kind of delivery of just like him being like, his self-deprecating humor. It's really actually kind of entertaining. So then there's a brief fight. Waller, in theory, escape. Owens is shoved into Cody. So we're sowing those seeds of doubt. Is Kevin going to turn or is he not? And that's, I think, the really intriguing part of this angle is what the hell is going to happen here. Is Kevin Owens going to be a heel coming out of this? Because he has done his really best for the longest time to convince us that he is past the phase of, you know, turning on people, and he really hasn't done like one of these massive heel turns since, I would say, going back to Big E in 2021. That was really the last time he did it. He did turn on Kofi Kingston in 2019. That was a really short heel run, but he's predominantly in the last 5 years been largely a babyface. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of this match. We'll talk about the main event a little bit later, where they kind of sowed a little, there was a really final closing shot that really kind of hammered home the point of what they're trying to tell here. And if you don't understand and you're saying, man, this is a stupid build, you really don't understand the fundamentals of wrestling storytelling. This is a great idea that WWE went to because Randy Orton, who seemed like maybe the next guy to face Cody, he's busy with Gunther, which is great. Solo Sikoa just lost. He's dealing with Roman Reigns, even though he's hinted that maybe he might be in the title picture coming forward. But there's not a whole lot of, like, you know, options for Cody Rhodes as an opponent right now. So Kevin Owens, who really hasn't been in the world title picture for a couple years now, it makes a lot of sense to try this out, and we'll see what happens. I could see this, you know, going a lot of different ways. I could see Kevin turning. I could see Kevin not turning. I could see this dragging out a little bit longer and maybe a turn happening at Bad Blood. There's a lot of ways that this could go, but this was a really productive opening segment. So then we get LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. The fans going absolutely bananas for my guy LA Knight. Again, hammering home my point. Angel and Humberto doing us all a favor in avoiding the announcer introductions. Like I said, I got nothing personal against Alicia Taylor. I just think she's not very good at her job. And if that offends anybody here on this app, you want to call me sexist or whatever, I love Samantha Irvin. I love Lillian Garcia. Some people are just not cut out for the job. And I think it was actually a blessing in disguise to do this angle to start the match and just, you know, have Jessica Carr just kick everybody out and not have ring entrances. You know, this was a good match. For what it was, a short, albeit through one commercial break. And LA Knight, near the end of this match, he does his stomps in the corner, gets a weird-looking side effect. It wasn't great. I like that he's adding more things to his repertoire. He lines up for the BFT, but Escobar blocks. He tries the Phantom Driver, but had to settle for a super kick when LA Knight was able to slip out. They battle on the turnbuckles. LA punches Escobar back into the ring, sets him up for a he basically, I love this elbow drop that he started to do where he sets up on the second rope, does his LA Knight chant to the crowd, and then leaps up to the top rope and does a seamless looking elbow drop. And then that leads to the BFT for the win. LA Knight wins and retains the championship. There was really no doubt in this, but man, my guy LA Knight is crushing it. And I said this on my Twitter. LA Knight is more than just a catchphrase. He is more than just, yeah, he is more than let me talk to you. This guy has refined his wrestling ability since he got to WWE, and he has become a bona fide superstar. And like I said, a lot of people were able to believe in him because of his catchphrases and the way he is on the microphone. But he is a phenomenal wrestler. And I think we need to dispel this narrative that he is somehow just a catchphrase. He's not. He is fantastic. And this match was a really good outing for him and Santos Escobar. I'd like to see Santos get a little bit more heat behind him ever since the Rey Mysterio stuff and the break off from the LWO. It feels like he's kind of just been floundering in the mid card. Santos is really good. The problem is he's a little bit on the older side, and it's just it's hard to believe in him after he's taken so many losses for him to be really elevated in terms of being a heel. He's kind of a mid card heel. And, there was never any doubt that he was going to lose this match and LA Knight was going to retain because it was LA Knight's first title defense. But still, good match, good way to start the show. Then we show the footage of, after this match, we show the footage of Carmelo Hayes beating Andrade in the brawl that subsequently took place. I love that this feud is continuing. We've done 3 matches in the last month and a half, and I hope they do 7. It's an unofficial best of 7 series. These guys just, in the basketball terminology, they're hoopers. They really are. So then Hayes is in his barbershop. He's talking trash about how Andrade wasn't good enough to beat him last week and never would beat him again. Andrade then crashes into the barbershop, said what happened last week after the match was disrespectful, and he would see him next week to set it right. Hayes agrees, and after Andrade leaves, he basically tells the barber, Carmelo tells barber, lock the door while he's talking, man, we got to stop this in this interruption. Listen, these guys are going to do it again. Maybe we'll have to add a stipulation if Carmelo wins and makes this 2-2, because I'm telling you, we're already at 4, and I honestly, it's a cliche. I'd love to see these guys fight forever. This has been fantastic. And this is so unlike WWE to see a very fresh feud where rematches don't seem redundant, because every single one of these matches has felt different. These guys have never felt boring or dull. The crowd's been very into it. And for 2 guys who really don't have anything to do in that mid card, I think it's going to benefit both of these guys, even if they're taking losses, because you see how really close these guys are. So I really enjoyed this, and I enjoy that they're continuing to set it up. So then Santos Escobar, he chews out Berto and Angel about getting tossed from ringside, because I guess there was some sort of a plan, and I think they may have jumped the gun. Elektra Lopez was hinting at that. Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin are mocking them. Escobar said he would go to Nick Aldis, and they could sort out the disrespect next week. I don't know what that means, but, I love that Baron and Apollo are being featured on television, and they've actually gotten a chance here as this, babyface team. It's really interesting. Then we get 6-woman tag, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Naomi taking on Blair Davenport, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn. It has been announced by Nick Aldis that at Bash in Berlin next week, it's going to be Bianca and Jade taking on Isla and Alba for the tag team titles. I would imagine this is the spot, ironically, on another international show where the tag team titles are going to change hands. Loved the callback and I didn't really pick up on this, and I got to give my sister a ton of credit for this, pointing out the gymnast style attire from Bianca Belair. But then if you dig deeper, it would all 3 of them, Naomi, Jade, and Bianca, were all wearing attire inspired by Simone Biles. That is freaking phenomenal, and that just shows you how much of a transcendent athlete Simone Biles is, that you've got maybe the greatest athlete ever, depending on who you talk to, inspiring gear for 3 of the best women in WWE. This was a fun 6-woman tag, and basically a lot of fun maneuvers. Bianca surprisingly took a lot of the heat in this match, building up to the hot tag from Jade, who just wrecked people. Like she had a power bomb on Blair. She tossed Alba Fowler into Blair with a fallaway slam. Naomi then gets a blind tag. Blair fires back with a super kick on Jade. Naomi then splashed all three of her opponents and took control. Fire and Dawn then double team Cargill to the outside. But Bianca gets, much like her husband, doing a sick-looking dive to the floor. Naomi hits her sick-looking comeback kick to the side of the head of Davenport and gets the split-legged moonsault for the win. This was a lot of fun. One thing I will say to point this out in regards to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, because a lot of people are wondering where this is all going. I think where this is all going is Bianca and Jade are going to face each other, probably at WrestleMania next year. This feels like a big-time deal. If I'm WWE, and this may not be a popular opinion, I would have Bianca be the heel in this scenario. Even as popular as she is, I think there's a real opportunity to try out Bianca as a heel because she was really good in NXT when she was positioned as a heel. She has never been a heel on the main roster. And I think Jade, you haven't really seen that much of an opportunity to branch her out as a babyface yet. She was predominantly a heel in AEW. I think this would be really interesting if you decided to splinter off this team at some point, that Bianca ends up being the heel. Because like I said, you haven't really tried it. And like I said, even though she's over, I think at some point you're going to have to do something different because at some point Bianca's going to be facing Rhea Ripley. And I don't know who's going to be the babyface in that one because Rhea is arguably the biggest star in all of WWE, not just in the women's division. So that was just a thought that popped into my head coming out of this match, but this was a lot of fun. Then we get a really nice video package hyping up Bash in Berlin from Natalya, who we've not seen in months. I guess this is the biggest indication yet that, Natalya is still with the company. I mean, there was no reason to believe that she was going to leave, considering TJ Wilson, a.k.a. Tyson Kidd, is a producer in WWE and maybe the chief women's match producer, really. You see most of his name on most of the big-time women's matches in WWE, so it's not surprising. But this was really cool, talking about the first European Championship match in Berlin between Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith, so this was really cool. Coming out of this, we get the Bloodline coming to the ring. They show what happened to Roman Reigns. I'm sorry to break it to you people, we're not going to see Roman Reigns on Fox. Roman Reigns will be back in WWE on SmackDown probably when this show shifts to USA in September. It's just the way Roman structures his schedule, and I think we've got to set the stage and build to whatever the heck is going to happen with the Bloodline and this OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. So then Solo Sikoa tells the DC crowd to acknowledge him. He says that he claims that the OTC Roman Reigns is done and that whoever won the championship at Bash in Berlin, he had next. He screamed to the crowd they could chant Roman all they want. He wasn't there. Then he addresses the tag team championships and asks Jacob Fatu to step up. Jacob had the championship around his neck. So then he asked Jacob to give him his tag team title and changes his mind and had him give the title to Tonga Loa, who doesn't have the eye patch, which was a big disappointment. Tonga Loa is just like a walking joke in the wrestling community. It's still really entertaining, but this makes a ton of sense because then Solo basically tells Jacob, "Hey, you can't be the tag team. You can't be a tag team champion if you're also going to be my own personal enforcer." Basically, insinuating that he's getting a promotion. But I think there's a bigger meaning to this in the fact that I think this is going to play a role in obviously Jacob doesn't need to be the tag team champion, but I think think about this later down the line when the Bloodline 2.0 starts to splinter and Jacob maybe starts to break away from a Solo, because Jacob is just going to get so over with his moveset that at some point it's going to be really hard to boo this guy. So I think they're setting the early stages for that in him taking away the tag team champion. Plus, at the same time, you can't have Jacob be in a tag team title feud if you're going to position him to potentially face a Roman Reigns. And Jacob's bigger than the tag team titles. He helped him win it, which makes a ton of sense. Tonga Loa is not very good. But this, and especially if you're going to have other tag teams like the Usos potentially getting involved, I just don't see how this is going to make any sense. So Street Profits come out. They cut a promo. Funniest part about this is Montez Ford refers to them as the Bloodline version 8675309, which is very funny. So, we're setting the stage for the match. Before we get there, LA Knight gets interviewed by Byron Saxton, called himself the bi-coastal champion. He talks about how he grew up in the Maryland area, so that got a good pop from the crowd. And he basically issued an open challenge for the United States Championship in Berlin. I'm assuming it's going to be on SmackDown. Anybody who wants him on the pay-per-view, he's not going to be on the pay-per-view. We're at 5. We might get a 6 match, but they're not going to have an open challenge for the United States title beyond Bash in Berlin. No disrespect to LA Knight. He got his pay-per-view moment. Maybe he'll get it somewhere down the line. Then we get the tag team title match. This was fine. Very chaotic at the end. Montez Ford took a ton of heat in this match. Angelo Dawkins got the hot tag. He takes down Tama Tonga with a splash and a spinning neck breaker. Ford then gets back in, lands a double team. They land a double team neck breaker, but Tonga Loa breaks it up. Dawkins takes out both men on the floor, and Ford leaps over the ring post. He almost went short. It was almost kind of scary for Montez, but Montez is such a great athlete. He made it work. Ref then gets distracted by Solo. That allows Jacob to assault both Ford and Dawkins with a super kick. Tama Tonga hits his flatline finish for the win. And this was a good little tag team match. After the match, Bloodline beat down Ford and Dawkins until DIY run in and make the save. DIY get the better early on, but eventually they're going for meet in the middle. Fatu and Solo take control. Gargano and Ciampa are taken out with Samoan spikes, and that's the segment. So Bloodline is ruling over the tag team division early on here. There were some people speculating that maybe Jimmy would come back and the titles would change hands. There's no reason to do that. I feel like the tag team division has kind of been bastardized a little bit. If there's one critique that I have about Triple H WWE, since they split those undisputed tag team titles and had them branch off as their own, they don't matter. Like, I totally forgot that Finn Balor and JD McDonough are the tag team champions on Raw. And they've switched the tag team titles twice in the last month between the Bloodline and DIY winning their respective matches. So it's just like, and Waller and Theory are not really involved in the tag team picture. They're going to probably get broken up at some point. But this was fine. But I didn't think there was any reason to believe that they were going to switch the titles here. Then we get Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens backstage talking about their tag match. Owens asked Cody if he understood what he was saying earlier, insisting that he's not the guy that was displayed in the video anymore. Cody said yes. Owens replied that he didn't want him to think that asking for this tag match was a setup. Good little sneakily planting the seeds thing there from Kevin. I like that. Cody then said all he could do is take Kevin at his word. And Cody goes towards the ring, and we're setting the stage for the main event. So then we show B-Fab getting interviewed backstage as the Profits and DIY are both pissed off. You see Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell show up. So we're kind of setting the stage with all this chaos that the Bloodline's causing in the tag team division. Then we get a Meet Shin video package. And I've got to tell you, I love me some Mia Yim. And I've been a fan of hers since she was in Impact. I think she went in. She was in the Dollhouse and she was known as Jade. Mia Yim has always been fantastic. She has just never gotten the right opportunity to showcase herself. And since she got into this thing with Nia Jax, and she had the little run in NXT in the North American Championship ladder match, that was great. She has the sick looking match with Jada Parker that put Jada over, and now Jada's fighting for the women's championship in NXT. So Michin gets this really cool looking video package showcasing her and the build. It was really shot very interestingly, and I guess that they're going to have a street fight next week in Berlin for Nia's women's championship. And you know what? Even though Michin's not going to win, this is great for her. She deserves a showcase and deserves an opportunity to showcase her skills, because I've always thought that she is better than what she had been built up to be and booked in WWE. She was really positioned with AJ Styles in the OC, and from then on she was kind of hamstrung by that booking. But now she's kind of in her own element. I think this is going to be a really good showcase for her in a street fight against Nia Jax. We go backstage. Nia tells Pretty Deadly and Tiffany Stratton that Michin would never touch her crown again. She grumpily dismissed them from her presence. Basically said, yeah, fix my crown. She was really frustrated how that segment ended last week in her celebration. Around the corner, you can see Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are just gossiping about Nia, and said it would be a great opportunity for Tiffany to cash in. This is basically planting the seeds, and Chelsea saying the quiet part in the fan base out loud to Nia. Nia pops in, tells them she was in no mood, and they backed away. So I like seeing this being the utilization of Chelsea right now. And she's just always very entertaining in anything that she does. So this was really good. And then we get the main event. Cody Rhodes and KO versus A-Town Down Under. A lot of teases within this match of, setting up tags and like people not being there. So Cody's able to, later in this match, Cody's able to fight to his feet, puts Theory down with the Cody Cutter, crawl to his feet. But Waller pulled Owens from the apron. And by the time KO gets back to the apron, Theory was able to cut off Cody with a suplex. Cody managed to send both Theory and Waller to the floor. He gets the tag into Owens. Kevin jumps off the apron, starts building a house of fire, getting a bunch of sentons and clotheslines, just being Kevin Owens and being just the quintessential, like, just awesome Kevin Owens that he is. He's just the best. So he lands a cannonball on Waller, gets a swanton. Theory breaks up the near fall. There's an advantage that's short-lived. Cody lands a crossroads on Theory. Owens goes for the stunner. But Theory's able to block. KO then gets the pop-up powerbomb, and that's the match. I like that the pop-up powerbomb is becoming a thing with Kevin Owens again. It feels like it's been a long time, and this is like those seeds of the old Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens has used the stunner a lot in his babyface, run. The pop-up powerbomb was how we really got to know Kevin Owens as, the backstabbing heel that he is. So they're planting some seeds here, but this was a good match. Good way to end off the show. People were I was looking at the clock, but you forget that on Fox, it always ends a little bit earlier. So they spend a large chunk of the rest of the show for a couple minutes running down the card with the addition of Isla Dawn and Alba Fire against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. But then after the promo, we see Kevin Owens with the WWE title in his hands, and it appeared like he was just going to bash Cody in the head, but instead he aggressively walked over and handed it to him. It looked like he was going to go after Theory and Waller at ringside. And that was a really sneaky little tease there at the end of the show to basically make you wonder, is he going to turn or is he not going to turn? This was a really, really subtle way to end the show. But again, this is the way they're telling this story, and you have no idea where it's going to go. So I'm really intrigued by this, and I'm really intrigued to see where things go with this angle. But all in all, fine episode of SmackDown. Nothing spectacular really on the show. Everything seemed fine. The crowd was fantastic. A lot of good wrestling on this show. And, get on with your life with a 2-hour SmackDown and move on with your Friday night. I do need to address one quick thing in regards to AEW, because I feel like it's not a show with me without talking about AEW. It looks like AEW is going to do Forbidden Door next year in London. And a lot of tribalists and fans are like, oh, man, this is a great way to, rechristen and, revitalize the dead, premise in Forbidden Door. Moving it to a different venue isn't going to do anything. And aren't they doing another collaboration at the Tokyo Dome in January? Yeah. There's no need to do this pay-per-view anymore. Tony Khan has basically bought out every major New Japan star or every CMLL star. Stephanie Bakera, who was maybe the biggest acquisition or the biggest possibility for a women's match, she's gone. She's in WWE. You're not doing Forbidden Door with WWE. Taking this to London doesn't do a goddamn thing, in my opinion. It just doesn't do anything for me. And I just don't see the benefit in it. And it's like, everybody can disguise as I'm excited for All In. I think it's going to be a fine show. But again, I think this just feels like, hey, we're throwing London a bone because we're taking All In out of Wembley next year because we're not going to be able to sell 50,000 tickets after we sold 80,000 a year ago. So it is what it is. So, but yeah, we'll have immediate reaction, maybe a live stream for All In, since it's a big show. We're debating about doing that. So keep you posted on that. Follow, like, share, and subscribe here on the YouTube channel at Off the Mic 28, on Twitter at OT Mike Wrestling. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Enjoy All In. We'll talk to you guys after that. Bye-bye.